All right, everyone. Yesterday, all the Democrats, very, very briefly, for like an hour, like, oh, this is it. Finally, Robert Mueller is going to make a statement on the Russia probe. He's going to destroy Trump. He's going to say, well, the probe was botched and Barr is wrong and all of this stuff. And it was totally just a troll act. Really, Mueller decided that he didn't want to take questions. I fucking wonder why as well. He basically showed up to say he resigns, that the investigation is complete and thorough. And then, as an aside, I think this is sort of the Comey moment. Yeah, he says, well, we didn't find clear evidence that clears Trump of wrongdoing. And it's like, that's not your job as the special counsel. Your job is to try to find evidence of wrongdoing and prosecute, therefore, if you find it. If you don't find it, the presumption is innocence. That's the way that it's supposed to work, or rather, lack of guilt for legal purposes. That's not how prosecution is supposed to work, but we've entered a weird world now in which the judicial system and investigations are now being completely weaponized for political reasons. And it's surreal to watch this, but all the Democrats naturally were salty, because here you have the architect of the probe itself. This is more important than Barr and Rosenstein standing up there and saying similar things. You've got a situation now where the special counsel himself has said, look, the investigation's over, fucking stop talking about it. By the way, bye. I'm leaving. I'm resigning from my position, which is great. The Comey moment aside, it was pretty funny because it was a fairly short thing. It was basically just a statement to say everything's fine. I think he was compelled in part to do this by necessity. I don't have a reading of Mueller as being a bad person. He didn't really have an option. This was sort of all just dropped in his lap. And I think that by the time he realized that there was no evidence of wrongdoing, that he had been trapped in a probe that, he would have to retroactively justify by going after secondary topics, I think he was probably livid at the time. I think he might have been pissed at the Democrats and pissed specifically at Clinton's people who had managed to get this shit fronted to the FBI from the Steele dossier in the first place. All the pieces, by the way, are coming together. Most of the claims that we heard before are patently bogus. It's like, for example, many months ago, they said, well, there was more than just the Steele dossier that we based the decision to start this probe on, into Russian collusion specifically. It turns out that was bullshit. There was nothing, according to Lisa Page, the only thing they had was the Steele dossier. That's through the recollection of Sturzak there. Or Strzok, as some people pronounce it. I don't know. I've seen it pronounced both ways. I just say Sturzak because there's a Z in there, and I'm like, well, I'm an English speaker, so what do you expect me to do? It sounds right to me, so it's okay. And also, originally during testimony, people there said to Congress, well, there was no question. Nobody seriously questioned the dossier. It looked real and we had no clue. But now it turns out actually there were voices in the FBI that questioned it at the time. There never should have been a probe. All of this other bullshit about obstruction or Papadopoulos lied and stuff like that. By the way, Papadopoulos, didn't they offer him a shit ton of money and he turned it down or some crazy shit like that? Like they kept trying to egg him on. I feel sorry for Papadopoulos. Not too sorry, though, since his final sentence was 2 weeks in a county jail, but, still, he has that on his record for no legitimate reason. There was never any proper evidence that should ever have been accepted by the FBI or the FISA court or rubber stamped by Rosenstein that would explain why the probe began in the first place. I think what happened is that political elements assumed that Trump was guilty of something, and so they just decided to cast the nets really wide. I don't think Mueller himself had anything to do with it. I think number one, I think he's pissed. And number two, I think he's like, fucking enough is enough with the political bullshit here. I'm just going to go out and make my statement and say the investigation was thorough and let other people handle it. It's sort of his pilot moment. He's washing his hands of the situation because he used the Comey strategy there and tries to throw Trump under the bus a little, I guess maybe to keep the Democrats afloat at the moment. Maybe he's pissed off at them, but he's like, well, maybe they have some dirt on him or something like that. Maybe he's looking for a consultant job at CNN after he resigns. And by the way, he should just start a YouTube channel. It'd be more lucrative. Oh, he'd probably have a lot of subscribers if he just weighed in on topical political events and stuff like that. It's like Gorka and some of these other people have done. They're not doing that badly. They're doing it independently, too. That's the wave of the future. It's a great thing. So I think Mueller should definitely make a YouTube channel and start making, vlogs and stuff. Even if it's just his day-to-day life. Look, it can't get more boring than Beto O'Rourke having a haircut. It can't get more boring than Elizabeth Warren pretending that she's a beer consumer and obviously really isn't, and then making some shitty food in her kitchen with her with her very very long suffering husband, I would say. I thought the statement was pretty funny. And it's funny also if you look at like the legacy media, they're all trying to spin it. Even now they're still covering it. It's like Fox News is like, this is total exoneration, haha. And then you turn into like MSNBC, CNN or something. It's like, aha, get them mixed up at this point. Mueller failed to totally vindicate Trump. He knows Trump is guilty, but he can't legally do anything about it. Ha ha ha, here we have proof that Trump is a slime ball. It's interesting how two totally different takes can be made on the same event. Ultimately, though, in the sense of legal judgment, what the fuck are you supposed to do? There's no evidence of wrongdoing. Duh, you're not going to be able to prosecute him. And you could. Yeah, you could try to prosecute a sitting president without any evidence. What do you think would happen? I don't think it would go over too well. Trump's approval would be above 50 right now if the left had tried to do that. They're still rambling about impeaching him and stupid shit like that. It's not going to happen. That's about all. Peace out.